Welcome to Fort Riley, the home of America's Army. Fort Riley is on its way to becoming the Army Center of Excellence for home station training of mechanized forces. An installation capable of deploying a heavy division within 7 days. The FORSCOM assignment of choice for soldiers, civilians, and their families. An installation that continuously enhances its stature by attracting and accommodating organizations from across the Department of Defense. The current mission of Fort Riley is to provide the nation with 3 trained active component brigades ready for deployment, support designated reserve component units, and continue expanding Fort Riley's relevance as a power projection platform by involving our leadership, workforce, and neighboring communities. In addition, provide our soldiers, families, and civilians with a safe, nurturing environment in which to live and work. Fort Riley is home to 3 of the Army's most unique brigades and a number of other total Army organizations. 2 of the brigades are standalone combined arms maneuver brigades. The division headquarters for these 2 brigades are forward deployed in Europe, the 1st Infantry Division and the 1st Armor Division. Fort Riley's 3rd brigade-sized unit is the 937th Engineer Group. America's team of the 1st Brigade Combat Team, 1st Infantry Division, the Devil Brigade, is made up of the 1st Battalion, 16th Infantry Iron Rangers, the 1st Battalion, 34th Armor Centurions, and the 2nd of the 34th Armored Dreadnought. Fire support is provided by the 1st Battalion, 5th Field Artillery, Hamilton's own. The 1st Engineer Battalion Diehards provide mobility, counter-mobility, and construction support to the combat team. Maintenance and logistical support is provided by the 101st Support Battalion Guardians. Separate company-sized units include the Archers of Battery C, 4th Battalion, 3rd Air Defense Artillery, and the Big Dogs of the 331st Signal Company. The 3rd Brigade Combat Team, 1st Armor Division, Bulldog Brigade, is led into battle by the 1st Battalion, 41st Infantry Dragoons, the 1st Battalion, 13th Armored Dakota, and the 2nd Battalion, 70th Armor Thunderbolt. Indirect fires are provided by the 4th Battalion, 1st Field Artillery, Go Big Guns. Clearing the way is the 70th Engineer Battalion, Kodiaks. Support is provided by the 125th Support Battalion, Bulldog Support. Battery C, 1st Battalion, 4th Air Defense Artillery Defenders guard the skies over the brigade combat team, with the 596th Signal Company supporting with communications. The combat engineers of the 937th Engineer Group, Forward First, command their engineer assets, trained to deploy to combat, and are prepared to assume command of subordinate reserve and active component units. The group also commands the units at Fort Riley, which provide support to the post. The 541st Maintenance Battalion Pacesetters form one of the largest and most diverse battalions in the Army, with companies of engineers, maintainers, transporters, medics, explosive ordnance disposal, and chemical soldiers. Finance support for the installation is provided by the 1st Finance Battalion, 1st Diamond. Personnel support is the duty of the 1st Personnel Services Battalion Dealers. The Law Enforcement Command, the Force of Choice, does double duty as both the tactical and garrison military police. The 82nd Medical Air Ambulance Company, Boomers, provide aerial medical evacuation to the post and surrounding communities, and contain the Command Group Flight Detachment. Maintaining Fort Riley's traditional cavalry ties, the Commanding General's Mounted Color Guard not only complements the military ceremonies of the post, but also performs throughout the region. In the historic garb of the golden age of the cavalry, these accomplished equestrians and their mounts represent our post in demonstrations, parades, sporting events, and ceremonies in communities throughout Kansas and surrounding states. These soldiers are hand-picked from the units of the post for their discipline, attitude, and competence. Horsemanship is not a prerequisite, but is a skill quickly acquired following assignment to this elite team. The Readiness Group, Fort Riley, supports the training and readiness of the reserve components of the region. Both National Guard and Army Reserve units train with their active component hosts at Fort Riley, sharing the abundant training resources available here. The healthcare needs of the Fort Riley community are met by the medical activity, MEDAC, and the dental activity, DENTAC. MEDAC commands Irwin Army Community Hospital, veterinary services, and preventive medicine. Irwin Army Community Hospital provides care to approximately 37,000 DOD-eligible patients at Fort Riley and the surrounding area. The hospital can maintain more than 120 inpatients and offers training in cooperation with several university programs. DENTAC operates 3 dental clinics on the installation. Supporting our active and reserve component soldiers is one of the premier civilian workforces in the Department of Defense. There are over 1,500 Department of the Army civilians and nearly 300 non-appropriated fund employees working here. Additionally, nearly 1,500 other civilians are working in other agencies throughout Fort Riley, for a total of over 3,300 civilian workers. Their expertise, friendliness, and continuity contribute to making Fort Riley a great place to live and work. The home of America's Army has the support of thousands of good neighbors as well. The surrounding communities of Junction City, with a population of over 21,000, Manhattan, with a population of nearly 45,000, and many other towns in the area maintain outstanding relationships with soldiers from Fort Riley and their families. Nearby Kansas State University provides educational opportunities through extension campuses at the Installation Education Center. Fort Riley has been a key Army installation for over 140 years. Located in the heart of America, Fort Riley was established in 1853 as a base of operations to help our nation expand westward. As early as 1868, Fort Riley was already a power projection platform for such famous campaigns as Beecher's Island and the Washita River fight, led by General George Custer and the famous 7th Cavalry. Following the Indian Wars, Fort Riley became a center of training. The Buffalo Soldiers, the all-black regiments of the 9th and 10th Cavalry, were stationed at Fort Riley many times during their history. In addition to passing through in the 1800s, the 9th was permanently assigned as troop cadre for the Cavalry School in the 1920s and 30s. The 10th was here in both 1868 and 1913. America's entry into World War I resulted in many changes at Fort Riley. Facilities were expanded and a cantonment named Camp Funston was built 5 miles east of the permanent post during the summer and fall of 1917. The 89th Division, the first to train at Camp Funston, sailed for France in the spring of 1918. The 10th Division also trained here, but the armistice came before the unit was sent overseas. The following 2 decades were the golden age of the cavalry. The training the Army horsemen received at the Cavalry School made them among the finest in the world, on par with the French and Italian cavalry schools. Horse shows, hunts, and polo matches, popular events on Army posts, were a natural outgrowth of training. America's entry into World War II in December of 1941 witnessed an intensification of training at Fort Riley. Major reconstruction of Camp Funston expanded barracks capabilities and training facilities. The 9th Armored Division was activated in July of 1942 from elements of the 2nd Cavalry Division. The officers and men who trained here went on to participate in campaigns in North Africa, Sicily, Europe, and the Pacific. Increased guerrilla insurgency in South Vietnam in the early 60s led to the deployment of the 1st Division to Southeast Asia in 1965. The 9th Infantry Division was reactivated and quickly followed the 1st across the Pacific. Following 5 years of combat in Vietnam, the Big Red One returned to Fort Riley in April 1970. Known as the home of the Big Red One for much of the last 40 years, Fort Riley has been an integral part of the nation's defense strategy. In November 1990, the 1st Infantry Division from Fort Riley again answered the nation's call. Alerted for deployment to Southwest Asia, the division completed training, deployed to Southwest Asia as part of Operation Desert Shield, then led the 7th Corps attack into Iraq as part of Operation Desert Storm. The division's solid preparation and training base begun at Fort Riley were key to its success in the 100-hour war. The division returned in the spring of 1991. Fort Riley was home to the Big Red 1 until February 1996, when the headquarters was deployed to its new home in Würzburg, Germany. This began its first step into its future as the home of America's Army. Fort Riley offers some unique capabilities which enable the execution of our nation's military strategy to any part of the world, quickly. Our location is supported by a superb force projection platform infrastructure of railroads, highways, and airfields. Deployment by air is available from 3 locations: Forbes Field in Topeka, 60 miles away, McConnell Air Force Base in Wichita, 140 miles away, and the Manhattan Regional Airport, just 7 miles away. Topeka and McConnell airfields can support up to 12 wide-body aircraft on the ground at any time and can deploy 15 to 18 aircraft per day. Full commercial and military support is available 24 hours per day at both locations. Manhattan Regional Airport, although smaller, can support aircraft the size of C-141s and C-130s. There's an excellent road network supporting the post. Interstate 70 is adjacent to Fort Riley, which provides east-west access. North-south access is available 40 miles west on Interstate 135. Civilian and commercial traffic doesn't interfere with troop and equipment movement. Fort Riley has one of the premier railheads in the U.S. The recent upgrades to the rail load site allow for a maximum capacity of 400 rail cars and 4 trains per day. With the 24-hour capability, an entire division's worth of equipment can deploy in 5 to 7 days. Because we're only 36 hours by rail from the Texas seaports of Beaumont and Houston, we can get to the port faster than ships can be brought to the port. Fort Riley is one of the very best mechanized force training areas in the world. We have 71,000 contiguous acres of maneuver area, and it's immediately accessible from the back gates of our motor pools. It's not restricted by climate, large bodies of water, environmental conditions, vegetation, or urban growth. The prairie grass that covers the training area is extremely hardy and quickly recovers from mechanized training. This large training area can accommodate battalion task force training to include force-on-force operations and task force combined armed live fire exercises. The training area is easily accessible with 50 miles of paved roads and 210 miles of improved all-weather tank trails. The 28 modern ranges accommodate every weapons type found in a heavy division, to include MLRS rockets and Hellfire and Stinger missiles. Our main multi-purpose range complex is a computerized gunnery range allowing us to test the limits of our Abrams tanks and Bradley fighting vehicles. Our second MPRC allows training armor and mechanized infantry crews up through and including Table 8. Our state-of-the-art computerized rifle and machine gun ranges are rated as the best in the world. A state-of-the-art battle simulation center provides commanders and their staffs with the ability to gain valuable battlefield experience without the expense of operating all their vehicles. The Brigade Battle Simulator, or BBS, replicates a computer-generated combat environment to challenge leaders and soldiers. In addition to BBS, the Battle Simulation Center also connects with other installations for synthetic theater of war exercises. Fort Riley can boast of some of the most modern, up-to-date facilities anywhere in the U.S. Army. A new commissary, a modern in-processing center, and a new child development center. At any time, close to $100 million in construction projects are underway. Barracks upgrades continue every year. The Ellis Heights Housing Area Project for junior NCOs and enlisted families is complete. Construction of 2 additional housing areas is funded. Construction on a new PX shopette will be complete in the summer of 1998, and an expansion and modernization of the main PX is being planned. Families and quality of life are important to the readiness of the units here. The Army Continuing Education System on post provides over 200 college classes in a wide range of degree programs, vocational instruction, military occupational specialty training, and library services, all with flexible schedules to meet the needs of soldiers and their family members. The Morale, Welfare, and Recreation activity offers a mix of recreation and entertainment opportunities. The post offers a bowling center, an 18-hole golf course, 3 gyms, 2 fitness centers, and a very large intramural sports program. Also available are an arts and crafts center, auto craft center, and a large outdoor recreation program with opportunities for boating, hunting, fishing, archery, camping, skiing, and rifle, pistol, and skeet shooting. The post has many running and walking paths into areas for hiking and biking. Rental services are provided for boating and camping at the area lakes and parks. There are also 4 swimming pools, 2 indoor, and numerous sports fields to include a modern softball complex available for use. Renovations continue on the fitness centers. Recently upgraded Leonard Fitness Center and King Fieldhouse are modern facilities offering the latest in exercise technology. There are 5 elementary schools and a middle school on post. Unified School District 475 has an enrollment of over 1,300 Ft.Riley students. High school age students can attend Junction City High School or choose from others in the area. Serving the spiritual needs of the Ft.Riley community is a strong ministry program. Numerous chapels serve the various faiths with many youth and outreach programs. A proud and distinguished history, state-of-the-art training facilities and force projection capabilities, a premier workforce, great community relations, and a quality of life second to none, all combined to form the life of Riley. Ft.Riley, the home of America's Army, provides the best combination of training, living and work environment, and recreation anywhere in the world. It is truly the Army's best kept secret.